Forspoken is the debut game from Luminous Productions, a relatively new studio in the Square Enix group founded in 2018 from a lot of the same development team that worked on Final Fantasy XV. Luminous was founded with the remit of fusing new technology with art to create unique AAA game experiences using the Luminous engine. And Forspoken, originally codenamed Project Athia, certainly looks like it'll fall under that remit. We got to watch a gameplay preview of Forspoken recently. Here are 11 new things we learned. The preview introduced us to Forspoken's lead writers Todd Stashwick and Alison Reimer, who also mentioned co-writers Amy Hennig and Gary Whitta. Hennig, of course, is best known for her narrative work at Naughty Dog and the Uncharted series, while Gary Whitta worked on the script for Star Wars Rogue One and the Book of Eli, and helmed the ridiculously successful pandemic hit, the Animal Crossing talk show. It seems like Whitta came up with Forspoken's original concept, while Hennig developed that concept in 2019 prior to her move to Skydance New Media to work on a brand new Marvel title. So it's unclear if Hennig and Whitta's involvement in Forspoken is ongoing, so it may be that Stashwick and Reimer took over as lead writing team after they finished up those initial concepts. Our main character in Forspoken is Frey Holland. A native New Yorker, she's about to turn 21 and she's trying to figure out who she is and what her place is in the world. According to the writing team, she's had a rough upbringing where she really only had herself to rely on. She's fallen through the cracks of society, having to literally fight for her own existence. And right now, she's on the verge of going to prison. When the game begins, she's on the run. All she wants to do is hide away, get out of New York with her absolutely adorable cat Homer. The team say that despite all she's been through, she has a good sense of humor and she uses that as a defense mechanism. She's tough, but there's a vulnerability there, underneath her strong exterior. So when Frey somehow passes through a portal and travels from New York City to the magical realm of Athia, she finds herself bestowed with new magical powers and surrounded by lots of things to fight. There are monsters and there's the people of Athia, who are initially scared of Frey's powers, calling her a demon. According to the writing team, Frey had been bounced around from foster care home to foster care home in New York, so she's a survivor and her new situation doesn't faze her for very long. She'll soon begin to meet and make allies, including Cuff, a literal sentient magical golden bracelet who chats with Frey as she explores Athia and seems to act kind of like a guide to the world.
So let me get this straight. I'm somewhere that's not what I would call Earth. I'm seeing freaking dragons, and oh yeah, I'm talking to a Cuff!
Frey is up against a group called the Tantas, the twisted and destructive matriarchs of Athia, who Frey seems to be tasked with taking down if she ever wants to get home to our world. Tanta Sila is the leader and the most dangerous of the Tantas, and we've glimpsed her already in one of Forspoken's most recent trailers. Lead writer Alison Reimer commented during the preview presentation that she really enjoyed writing for the game as it featured a large cast of interesting female characters. As well as the antagonistic Tantas, Frey also makes friends with an archivist named Johody and a young woman named Auden. So it'll be really fascinating to see how these characters are brought to life and how the largely female cast will shake up the energy of the game. It's especially interesting to note when you consider the criticism that the Final Fantasy XV development team got when it turned out the cast of that game was predominantly male. One of the areas you'll get to explore as Frey in Athia is the city of Sepal, which we got a short glimpse of in the preview. It's one of the last bastions of humanity in the world, as much of the rest of Athia has been swallowed up by a corrupting miasma known as the Break. Sepal's high elevation has kept it relatively safe, but the Break is still spreading, so everyone inside the city walls is still living in fear. Sepal was never designed to be a bustling city, we're told, and with so many refugees now pouring into it, it's filled with tens of thousands of people. Frey will apparently meet a lot of characters here and learn about their lives. So it's possible Sepal will be a hub of sorts, where side quests can be picked up. When you leave Sepal, you can see that lower areas of the land are covered in a kind of fog. This is the Break, or the corruption. With the exception of our character Frey, any living organisms that come into contact with the break are either killed or irrevocably changed by it, turning into monsters whose only thought is to mindlessly attack. The land covered by the break is vast and only Frey can explore it. We're told at one point that it's best to assume there isn't a single friendly being out there. So the concept as a whole sounds almost like a dungeon of sorts, where you can go to focus on combat and grinding. The landscape is twisted and dangerous, and creatures that were once animals can attack from anywhere. The Luminous engine is capable of procedurally generating beautiful and believable natural landscapes, so it's possible this will be used to create some of the huge areas affected by the break. But we also hope that these places don't end up feeling too empty if they're only going to be populated by mobs of hostile creatures. It'll be nice to have areas that feel rich and dense, not just vast. At the same time, it's great that the break gives you such great distances to explore, as one of the main draws of Forspoken is Frey's unique way of traversal, a sort of magical, super speedy parkour that sees you cover massive ground in no time at all. Luminous says that it's exhilarating, effortless, and fun to control, and the Frey must level up to extend the duration of magical parkour and increase its thrill. This sounds like we'll be able to invest more into Frey's movement the further we get into the game. And it's not just about running really fast in a forward direction. Frey can move vertically to climb tall structures, zipping to ledges, and controlling gravity to soften your fall should you misjudge a leap. You can surge forward to grab for outcrops, and swing to faraway ledges with what looks like a rope or a whip. In the break, you'll encounter lots of enemies to engage with in battle. Combat in Forsaken is definitely magic focused, and it seems like there'll be a wide range of spells at your disposal, all coming in a wide range of different forms and effects. Some we spotted including Tendril, an ivy whip that heals you depending on how much damage it does to an enemy, Bind, which ties up enemies in a tangle of weeds, Implant, which fires seeds into enemies that do more damage the more strikes you land, and Prime, which places a magical trap that does AoE damage when stepped on. But there are seemingly endless spells you can call upon. Frey can summon an illusion of herself that enemies will attack, allowing her to get some distance from mobs, and she can turn temporarily invisible to bypass large monsters or patrols. Additionally, she can wield magical darts, bolts, giant balls of water that can contain enemies on the field of battle, and a burst shot that fires explosive rocks at enemies to do wide area damage. It was hard to tell from gameplay and it wasn't explained in great detail, but it seems like spells are selected through a series of radial menus, and they appear to fall roughly into different categories. There are nature spells that harness the power of rock and root, for example, and fire spells that can summon flaming swords, kicks, and soldiers to fight for you. It all looks very impressive with the Luminous engine, and we're looking forward to finding out what it'll actually feel like to play. With so much choice in the types of spells you can wield, it looks like you can stand back and fire off projectiles and traps as you wish, or get in close with powerful melee attacks. It also appears that elemental damage may also play a part, as some enemies displayed vulnerable status effects when hit by certain spells.
Keep up. So, a regular cat then?
Although we didn't get into it that much, we also saw that Forspoken will include crafting and upgrade systems accessible through shelters, resting spots found out and about in Athia, where Frey can rest to recover health and use resources collected from her travels to either make new items or craft cloak and necklace upgrades from various materials. And you know, it's nice to see Frey continuing the long and noble tradition of RPG characters walking into other people's homes and sleeping in their beds.
This one's going to be a chore.
During the preview, we also got a brief look at some of the in-game menus, including a 3D map screen where you can set destination markers, a magic tab where you can spend mana to learn new spells, and a gear tab where you can equip new cloaks and necklaces. These are more than cosmetic too, as they can give both stat boosts and perks tailored to your playstyle. Some can make you resistant to poison, for example, while others make your magic recharge more quickly. It seemed like there were extra blank slots below some of the cloak and necklace perks in the menu too, suggesting you might be able to add more buffs to particular items later yourself. In another tab, we also saw a slightly more unusual way to boost your power. Frey can paint special patterns on her nails using items called break shards. We only saw one potential nail design. It was red and gold with encrusted stones, and we'll be really interested to see how this is implemented and explained in the story of the game. I mean, it could be a really nice idea when you think about how magic casters utilize their hands to create all these powerful magic spells. We just hope it doesn't feel too gimmicky or stereotypical in the final game. While exploring in the break, you may experience the arrival of a break storm. These maelstroms warp everything in their path, and they also bring with them some of the most difficult enemies in the game. We saw one that summoned a boss creature called a Jabberwock, as well as a lot of smaller, but still quite intimidating mobs that relentlessly attacked Frey. This fight was fairly short as Frey fell quickly in battle, and it brought the preview to a close. But we gotta say, the Jabberwock design was impressively scary, so we'll be looking forward to seeing more of it at a later date.
That kind of magic requires more range.
Kinda guessed that already.
Overall, our preview of Forspoken was short, but it did give us a better idea of how the game will actually play. And unsurprisingly, it's giving us a very similar vibe to Final Fantasy XV, which is no bad thing. We're still really keen to see the world and get more of a sense of how Frey will actually interact with it outside of fighting monsters, so we're hoping we won't have to wait too long to get hands-on with Forspoken ourselves. Is the game on your radar? Let us know what you think of it in the comments, and as always, subscribe to Eurogamer for more brand new videos every single day. Thanks for watching. Bye!